I'm Jessie David of Metal Wani. Joining me today is Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. It's going really good.
Good to hear. Well, just announced 2 of Megadeth's studio albums from the early 2000s are going to be reissued in 2019. We have The World Needs a Hero and The System Has Failed. Both will arrive February 15th. Why did you decide on these albums?
It was just because the 35th anniversary, we had looked at the entire catalog, and there's a whole new wave of fans that have discovered Megadeth, and because with the metrics on the internet, you can tell, and so we see how the band's popularity is. Believe it or not, we're more popular now than we've ever been, which is thrilling for me as we write this new record to follow up Dystopia. So it's. God, it's just this is a great time to be in Megadeth. We're so excited about the stuff that we're doing next year with the Ozzy tour and the thing I'm doing with the Hendrix thing and the cruise, and that doesn't even touch the record. The record, what we're writing right now, is really exciting too. You know, Kiko and Dirk have already come out here to play a little bit, and the stuff that they've done so far. Wow, I'm super excited.
Yeah,
can't wait for you to hear it.
I'm super jacked to hear it. How far along are we?
Well, I've been collecting all the stuff that I've written over my entire career, whether it was written on paper or recorded on anything going as far back as, a ghetto blaster. So we've been carrying all this stuff around forever, ideas, and we just yesterday got the very last thing that we've had that I've saved for years and years and years and years. We finished that. And that's kind of how Dystopia was made. We had all these riffs, and I just kind of shopped through it and picked out the ones I liked, and then wrote stuff to match with it to make everything connect. So if it's any indication, our VP from our management was here last week, and he heard 2 working tracks, and he said, I'm blown away. So I'm really excited.
I always find that it must be challenging to sift through different tracks. How many tracks do you plan on putting on the new album?
Well, see, therein lies the rub, because, this is our last record for Universal, and the label, the contract with them is for 8 songs. The publishing company, the contract with them is for 11 songs. So if I honor the publishing contract, I give them 11 songs. However, the record label now, because of all of the P2P file transfers and streaming and blah, 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 blah. They want CDs to contain way more than that. So the last I heard, the guy wanted, I think it was almost 16 songs, and it's like, I don't know, man, that's a lot. We gave you 15 on the last record, and it felt to me kind of like a few of those songs just were wasted, because I thought they were really great songs.
Do we have a release date or an album name so far?
Yeah, Album 16 is the name. The release date is 2019. I'll try and narrow it down and not be such a smart ass by the next time.
I know there was word that possibly it could be released in spring, so.
God, it would be so great if we could. We want to get the record out in time for the Ozzy tour, but what I think is going to happen, we've got these releases that you had mentioned, and then we've got this just kind of a walk through the history of Megadeth, this offering of 4 LPs and 35 tracks from our career, just pretty much like a retrospective of everything, and it's called Warheads on Foreheads, and I just saw the final artwork yesterday, so that should be making the rounds pretty soon, where everybody starts hearing about it and the track listing and stuff. But for now, I just have my focus is so intent on making the follow-up to Dystopia. When you write a record, it's really interesting. It's kind of like making some like a dish, and if you remember how you did it, you can do it again. If you don't pay attention, you run the risk of not being able to do it again. The last record, I was so again focused on what I wanted to do, so I have a feeling that this is going to be easily a follow-up to Dystopia, and probably a lot heavier, because even though Adler's a great drummer, he had recommended that Dirk fill in for him, but he was very reluctant, because I think that Chris would, in a perfect world, would love to be in both Lamb of God and Megadeth, and that's why he's not in Megadeth. We when he was playing with us, we basically said, look, dude, we need a permanent band member. Not for nothing, but, if you can't be with us and you're going to stay with Lamb, then, yeah, great. We don't want to break up the band, but we've got to get a permanent band member because that's just how Megadeth rolls. So he recommended Dirk, and like I said, he was so apprehensive. And as soon as we started playing with him, our crew was just gaga over this guy. And, I don't watch him. I'm looking the other way, so I don't really see what he does when he plays live. And everyone's just going like, oh, my God, Dirk. And so there was one night where I really made a conscious effort to watch. There was a reflection on the side of a stage we were playing at that I could see me and him. And I watched him, and it just blew my mind. Then when he came here and he was writing on the new stuff, which is great because then you get to see what the guys are really made of, you know what I mean? I was heavily impressed because he was doing stuff with his feet I haven't seen drummers do since I was with Gar. And Gar was by far one of the most influential drummers we ever had. And most people, they love Nick because of his power. But Nick was very much a jazz rock drummer, whereas Gar was a jazz drummer. And Gar kind of set the tone for Megadeth going forward. And I think it was really easy for Nick to emulate Gar's stuff because Nick had so much talent and he had really great instructors. His dad, I don't know if you know this or not, but Nick Menza's father played the saxophone for the Pink Panther theme song. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. That's wild.
Yeah, his name is Don Menza, and he was in the Henry Mancini Orchestra. So, he'd talk like this. He'd say, hey, man, you cats around, what the F? And blah, blah. I was like, wow, Nick, your dad's even more fired up than you are. And, it's sad that we lost Nick. I know he's in a better place now, and I know I didn't know he was having any kind of health issues, but, I guess the bittersweetness of it all is that he died on his drum set. I guess for a musician, that's probably either on the couch with your children on your lap and your wife by your side, or on stage. I can't think of anywhere else that I want to be when my time is up. I'm hoping that it's one of those two places. I imagine my kids are too big now. I don't want them on my lap anymore. I want my I'll wait till they have their own little ones to get on my lap. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even thinking like that anymore. Life is just going so great. There's a time, where timing and scheduling and plans and all that stuff, it just owned me. And the last 3 years, Megadeth has just had this crazy renaissance where we've just kind of taken this new approach towards things, and it's just made all the difference in the world. So yeah, I believe this next record's going to just be really barnstormer.
You also announced the first ever Megacruise due to set sail October 13th. How did this all come together? Well,
a few years ago, we were asked to do one of those cruises, those Monsters of Rock cruises or whatever, or was it Monsters or the 70,000 tons,
7,000
something like that, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't end up doing it for some reason. I can't remember. I got hurt or I got sick or something, and we just ended up not doing it. And I rarely ever don't play. I've played back in the day when substances were everywhere and everyone was sick all the time. Show must go on. So I can't remember what happened, why we didn't do that, but we didn't do it. So anyways, when the time came for us to do this again, I said, I'm interested in doing this. Our management had come to us with this great idea, and the promoter and our agents, we all got together at the 4 different parties and just started to kind of hammer this out. And like I said, it's really great in the Megadeth world right now because we're being handled by people who understand us. When you have 4 parties, it's pretty much like a car. You're driving down the road, one of the wheels goes a different direction, you're going to have a blowout. And that's usually what would happen to us in the past. where we would have one of the four band members would just change their outlook towards metal or towards music or towards business, or same thing would happen with one of the people who would be part of the brain trust, whether it was management or the label or the agencies or stuff. Something would always happen. But right now, I've finally managed to get all the right pieces. And granted, it's taken me 35 years to do it, but I feel like everything for us right now is just kind of like on a really bitchin' metal autopilot, where all I got to do is just show up and shred.
Hell yeah. Well, the Megacruise, I mean, the lineup's pretty stacked. We have Anthrax, Testament, Overkill, Corrosion of Conformity, John 5, Metal Church. Is this the complete lineup? Are you still waiting to announce a few more bands?
Well, we're kind of looking at that. We've got a couple other people that we were hoping we could get on there, but we don't know what their availability is. And we're going to be docking down in San Diego, and there was talk about collaborating with the facility down there to have a Megacruise sponsored event at one of the brick and mortar venues there. I think the whole thing, when we started talking about this, was to do something so different, and I completely believe we've accomplished that. One, just the mere fact that we're doing a cruise on the West Coast, and all previous ones have been on the East Coast. Unless somebody goes and rents a fishing boat and does a quick cruise and beats us to the punch, we're going to be the first guys to do a metal maiden voyage on the West Coast. And although it's not really long, I think our first time we want to make sure that the fans are all satiated and happy. When we got together with our promoter, Larry, I can't remember what the name of his partner is. He's got another partner. I think his name's Mike or Noah or something. Yeah. And so we all kind of were talking about the different groups, and I brought up a couple, and they were personal favorites of mine, but they don't mean anything. And they brought up a couple bands that I thought were kind of, and then they grew them on me, and so as far as how many slots are left, I don't know. I think there might be 2 or 3 left. In a perfect world, we had mentioned a band that God, I want to tell you their name, but I hate doing stuff like that because I feel like I always jinx myself when I talk about stuff that's not confirmed. So
we'll knock on wood if you tell me.
With you. One of the bands that I thought would be great, and I love them, is Living Colour, and we're still doing the research on them. But there was another band that I thought about, and we found out that they just don't really mean anything anymore to anybody but me. And I was like, shit. So you never really know when you're going on these cruises. We've put so much thought into it. I mean, down to the menu, the drinks, the spirits, where what the movies we're going to be playing during the cruise, and we've got personalities that are going to keep people occupied during the day, stuff to do during the day, the night, the wee morning, stuff to do when you get up, and just. Yeah, but as the honorary captain and host of the cruise, I want to make sure that I'm available for everybody, all day, all night, and that we're going to do things right. We're friends with the guys in Kiss, and I was talking with Paul while we were out on tour, and he gave me some pointers, and I was talking with Gene, same thing, and talking with Doc McGee, their manager. So we learned a lot from those guys, and love them, hate them. I have tremendous respect for Kiss. I've been a fan ever since I was a little kid. Up until when Destroyer came out, that they were my band, and then after Destroyer, I had already started to embark on my own career and just kind of focused on my own stuff from that point, and wasn't really a fan of anything anymore. But I still recognize the business acumen that these dudes have, and the first cruise they did, they said that it was terrible because they stayed in their cabins a lot of the time. So I thought, well, that's great. That's great news because we don't want our first cruise to suck.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned being friends with Kiss, and Gene Simmons said that rock is dead. I mean, Richard Z.K. said the same thing. What is your stance on that, the idea that rock is dead?
Well, it depends on what they mean. In my estimation, I think that's, it's like artists, what do they say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
You can have two people look at the same thing, and one says it's a beautiful woman brushing her hair, the other one it's an old witch with a scarf, right? And for me, I don't think rock and roll is dead. I don't think it's being manufactured right now, but I think there's a lot of people out there that are still carrying the torch for rock and roll. If you look towards the torchbearers from before, you look at what's one of the biggest rock and roll bands we have right now, AC/DC, right? Well, AC/DC's gone through a lot of changes which could send reverberations to the rock world. Who else is playing rock right now? I think a lot of it is cyclical, and a lot of it has to do with the temperature of the world. When the world is at its most tense conditions is when metal becomes its most popular. Because what is metal? It's about standing up for yourself and fighting. And when we get to that position where it's brother against brother and nation against nation and stuff like that, and people are ready to fight, ain't going to be putting on Bronski Beat, I tell you.
So 2019 is a pretty busy year. We have the new album. We have the Megacruise. You're also going on tour with Ozzy for the No More Tours #2 tour. This isn't your first rodeo playing with Ozzy or Sabbath. You've done Ozfest. How did this all come together? Did his team reach out to you? Did you reach out to him?
Oh, no. We found out that they were interested in us, and we were thrilled to do this. Truth be told, we don't know when Ozzy's last date is going to be. So to be a participant in what is being heralded as the last tour, I'm honored. I've been friends with Sharon for a long time, and with the family, although not super close. I'd be a liar if I said like we were friends, but I mean, I consider myself a friend to them. I don't know that it's both ways, but I love the guy. I think Ozzy's great, and to be able to do this, it's just as mind blowing having because I mean I don't feel my age. I still feel like just a young metal guitar player just chasing his dreams and stuff. So when you've got the singer from Black Sabbath saying, I want you to come tour with us, or you've got these guys from this Hendrix thing saying, we want you to come in and do this prestigious tour playing Jimi Hendrix songs, and I'm thinking to myself, what? You got the wrong number, buddy. And not because that I wouldn't want to do it. It's just, like I think of Hendrix, I think of legend, I think of so great, and then I think of myself, I think like, well, yeah, there's that one show and I made that one mistake, and there's that other show where I forgot the words right there, and then, I do that to myself. I don't know if you're like that. I'm sure a lot of your listeners and fans are the same way, where they critique themselves.
Oh,
but
for sure. But you know what?
Super hard on myself.
No one notices, right? Like, we're hard on ourselves, but no one else notices when we forget a lyric or, miss a note or something like that. But I think it's good to be that way.
I hope so. I think Elvis invented a whole style because he forgot the words at the end. What did he say?
So, over the years, Megadeth has seen some lineup changes. Do you feel those changes have been beneficial?
Yeah. I hate the harm that it's caused to any of those guys, because it's obvious, some of the parting of ways have been amicable and some of them have not, and some of us are friends and some of us aren't, and some of them I like, and some of them it's really hard to like. But I respect the hell out of every single one of them for being my partner at one point and leaving their world behind to join mine and go in a tour bus around the world. I never take that for granted. whenever I see somebody saying something that a past band member has said, and it's only a couple guys that are the people who were unhappy and, you know, trying to hurt me and in turn hurting themselves, because, you know, it just makes everybody look bad. I don't give a shit. I've had everything said about me, you know. If somebody says something bad about me, usually I think, well, I've heard that before, or that's a good one. But, you know, it doesn't bother me, because if it's somebody I don't care about, they can't hurt me. And you know, when you hear people say stuff sometimes, you know, you got to also be man enough to own it. I wasn't, there were times where I was not really being a safe, warm place for these guys. You know, there were a lot of times where I imagined they probably didn't know if the tour would go on, or, you know, if there would be another record. And I imagine with all of the drugs and alcoholism at the time, there were probably a lot of conversations that were either mindless and gave people the impression that, you know, there wouldn't be a Megadeth, or, you know, aggro to where nobody would want to be in the band anymore, because we would fight all the time. You know, I fought with Poland, I fought with Jeff Young. You know, and we didn't ever come to blows, me and Jeff, but it, you know, that's one of those things where you look at these guys and you think, wow, they're so good. I just kind of wish that there was a way to go back and just make everything okay. And some guys you can do it with. You know, me and Ellison are like peas and carrots now. You know, and I love the guy, and you know, as far as I know, he's happy. I just heard some new music from him that he submit for the new record, and I was really excited. So, you know, some guys you can make things right with. Other guys, you just gotta clean up your side of the street, and if they're not willing to, you know, accept your amends or whatever, then you just gotta kind of leave them alone, and you know, just pray for them that they'll be happy in life. And, you know, I want these guys all to be successful. Trust me, I do. If for the pure fact that part of me still loves them all, but you know, the music business has changed, and one of the biggest problems is that when somebody says something, it's immediately online, and
yep.
with the word search, all of a sudden it's out there, and then you get some people who just have a boner for Megadeth or for me, and it's like, okay, whatever.
Well, 2019 going to be a super busy year for you. We have the Megacruise, we have the Ozzy tour, we have
super busy
new albums coming. Is there anything you would like your fans to know?
Yeah, that I'm happy as I've ever been, and you know, contrary to that last little explanation about alumni, everything's going great for us. You know, Kiko and I have this relationship I haven't had with a guitar player since, honestly, you know, I had a real closeness with Glenn Drover, although we never really, the closeness never took root. And I had a real closeness with Marty and Chris Poland, but hadn't really had that friendship with my guitar player, like, you know, because me and Chris would kind of hang out a little bit. A lot of times we would do goofy stuff together. I remember when we were living together, we'd go to this little teeny bar by the rehearsal room, and we'd panhandle for alcohol money, and we'd go and play pool, and then we'd fist fight each other, and you know, to me, I love those days. I look back and I think I wish it was a little different. I wish it was a little bit more friendly and positive and everything, but you know, all these guys have a career now because of this, and I'm glad, and I wish them the best, and I hope none of our fans are, you know, not checking out any of their solo or successive music after leaving Megadeth because of them not being in Megadeth. That would be silly.
I think so too.
I think our fans should check out everything these guys do.
Dave, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm a big fan, so thank you so much.
You